Hey guys, and welcome back to our standard form challenge. I'm assuming you found this video after watching our multiplication and division in standard form video. If you haven't seen that yet, I'll link it down in the description box for you below, but you should have already given these questions a go on your own to prove that you understand standard form and you're not just using your calculator. I left you with 4 questions that you should try, and they're all algebraic. In the first 2 questions, I told you that A and B have a product which is greater than 10. Now, how is that going to affect your answers when you write them in simplified standard form? In questions C and D, I told you that C is smaller than D. How is that going to affect your answers in standard form? I hope you remember the hint that I gave you. Correct standard form must be some value that is between 1 and 10 multiplied by 10 to the power of some integer value, some whole number, either positive or negative number. Okay, I'm assuming you've already done that. If not, hit pause and take a minute to try that for yourself now, because I'm about to take it up. So for question A, when I multiply these two standard form values together, I'll multiply the non-base 10 parts together, so 3.1 times 2, which is simply 6.2, and then I'll multiply my base 10 parts together. 10 to the power of A times 10 to the power of B. If we've got the same bases, we can use laws of indices and add those indices. So I've simply got 6.2 times 10 to the power of whatever A plus B is. And that's perfectly fine in standard form. Since A and B are variables that we don't know the values for, there's nothing more we can do to simplify this. This is incorrect standard form because 6.2 is some number between 1 and 10. If I follow the same method for question B, however, I'll multiply my two non-base 10 parts together, so A times B, AB, and then I'll multiply that by the base 10 solution. Once again, I'm multiplying two terms with the same base, so I can add the indices. 7 plus negative 4, that's going to be 3. And A times B, I'm told, is greater than 10, so I can't leave this as AB times 10 to the power of 3. I'm going to need to divide that answer by 10 to move my decimal over one place. So I'll make that AB over 10 times 10 to the power of 4 now. To compensate for the fact that I divided by 10, I must multiply by an extra 10. For question C, even though this is a division, I'm going to start the same way I did above. First, I'll do the division of the non-base 10 parts. So I'll do D divided by C, or D over C. And I'll multiply that by the result of dividing my base 10 parts. So 10 to the power of negative 2 divided by 10 to the power of negative 9. Since we have the same bases, we'll use the Division Law of Indices, which tells us to subtract our indices. So negative 2 minus 9. And of course, you should know a double negative means add, so negative 2 plus 9, which is 7. So I've got D over C times 10 to the power of 7. Knowing that D is greater than C, this is a top-heavy fraction. That means if I work this out as a decimal, I would have some answer greater than 1. It would not be 0 point something. So that means that this is already incorrect standard form. For part D, again, I'll divide my non-base 10 parts, C divided by D, and I'll multiply that by the solution of the division of my base 10 parts, 10 to the power of 7 divided by 10 to the power of 4. Again, when I divide two terms with the same base, by the division law of indices, I can subtract my indices. So 7 minus 4 equals 3. So C over D times 10 to the power of 3. Now, is this in correct standard form? If C is smaller than D, this is not a top-heavy fraction. If I did C divided by D, I would get a decimal number, which would be 0 point something. Remember, standard form must be some value between 1 and 10 multiplied by some base 10 value. So we're going to need to adjust this by moving our decimal. So if I'm going to multiply C by 10 before I divide by D, I don't need to multiply by 10 3 times anymore. I've already multiplied by 10 once, so I just need to multiply it by 10 squared after that. So my correct standard form would be 10 times C over D multiplied by 10 squared. How did you do with that? Did you notice the trick about the place values? I hope so. If not, or if you have any doubts, please leave me a comment down in the comment section below. Otherwise, I hope you found this challenge interesting. and my explanations helpful? Until next time, keep practicing, and I'll see you soon.